Hello everyone. My name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We are here to do my last book haul for 2025. This video is probably gonna come out in 2026, but I wanted to collect all the rest of the books that I got in the last 4 months of 2025 because that is when I have done my last book haul. So we're talking September, October, November, December. All of these books have come in. I don't even know how many books are here. I haven't counted. I will count at the end and give you a total. But we're gonna go over them in categories, which is what I've been doing this year as I've done less frequent book hauls. I think I've done them, I think this will maybe be my 4th one for 2025, and maybe the biggest because it does have 4 months. And in December, I went a little crazy. In a good way. I was planning to do a really big book haul in December. I will let you know why when we get to those books. So we're gonna do categories of books I bought myself to start us off, then books that I got from my Deep Vellum subscription. There's 4 because it's been 4 months. I get 1 book a month from them. And then books that I have been gifted lastly. So let's start off with the books I bought myself. Let me reach over here and get the first stack. So these kind of coincide with a couple of trips that I have taken and books that I picked up there. I'm not really a souvenir person, but I do like to pick up a book when I go on vacation, and that sort of represents my souvenir for me. First up, we have 2 books that I picked up in Miami to visit my in-laws at, what is the bookstore called? I think it's called Books and Books. I will make sure and put it down below, but that bookstore is amazing. It's the best bookstore that I've been to when we've gone to visit them. I've now been a couple times, and these are the 2 that I got. I kind of just shopped around. I didn't know what I wanted going in. First one I saw was this. It was on one of the store tables right when you walk in, and it's called The Ha Ha by Jennifer Dawson. It has an introduction by Melissa Broder, and this one is published by Scribner. I believe this is, oh, here it is, Books and Books. So yes, I was correct. So this one is a reissued title. Let me see when it was originally published. Originally published in 1961, and then yeah, republished this year. And I picked up this for a couple of reasons. The first one being, it is blurbed by so many authors that I really love on the back. So it's blurbed by Meg Mason, who wrote Sorrow and Bliss. That was one of my favorite books the year that I read it. It's also blurbed by Melissa Broder, as you might suspect, because she wrote the introduction. I love Melissa Broder as well. It's blurbed by Daisy Johnson. I read Sisters by her a couple years ago, loved that book. And then it's also blurbed by 2 authors that I want to read from, Claire Kilroy, who wrote Soldier Sailor, and then Claire Louise Bennett, who wrote Pond. I actually own Pond. So those blurbs, enough alone to get me to buy it. But let me read you the synopsis as well. I think it's about mental health mainly. So it says, at a tea party at Oxford University in the 1950s, earnest undergraduates in floral dresses clink cups, discussing their studies, sports, and summer balls. But to one student, Josephine, they are grotesquely transformed. She is sitting among ominous armadillos. Then the laughter comes, and she is engulfed in mirthless hysterics. Her college has no choice but to send her away. And I believe that she is institutionalized, and it's about her recovery process from there. And that premise, combined with the amount of blurbs from authors that I love, female authors that I love particularly, made me pick it up. So that is The Ha Ha. Really excited to get to this one. And then the other book that I picked up from Books and Books is Daryl by Jackie Ess. This is published by Clash Books. So this blurb is really short, and it basically just says that Daryl Cook, the titular Daryl, seems to have this perfect life. He lives in Oregon with his wife, and I think him and his wife get into cuckolding in this book, and it's about his experience of that. And it says it finds himself tugging at threads that threaten to unravel his marriage, his town, and himself. And I've seen so many books recently about women having these like sexual awakenings or sexual experiences that cause them to have like deeper revelations about life, but I have not yet read one from a male perspective, I don't think. So this one intrigued me for that reason, and it also also says it's talking about themes of sobriety as well in here, so I'm not sure how that's going to play in, but I'm excited for this, and I've never read a book from Clash Books. I had a couple of their books on my anticipated releases list for 2026, so I'm excited to hopefully try them out as a publisher for the first time. So that is Daryl. And then we went, oh, this actually wasn't to see family. We went to Canada for my birthday trip. We went to Vancouver. It's like 3 hours away from us. And I picked up 3 books in 3 different bookstores while we were there. The first one I picked up was nonfiction, the only nonfiction book I have purchased this year. I've really been trying to cut down on my nonfiction purchasing because I just don't read it as much as I do fiction. But my nonfiction shelves are out of control on the bookshelves. So this book is On Oil by Don Gillmor. It's published by Biblioasis, and this was in my anticipated books for the year. I saw it at a market that we were at, and I was like, oh, I'm seeing it, I might as well pick it up. It's very short, and I, like I said, have really been trying to cut down on my nonfiction, but this was on my anticipated releases, so I went for it. Also, look at the bookmarks. They gave me 3 bookmarks, but they're very beautiful. So we got this from Black Bond Books. This one is kind of what it says on the tin. Don Gillmor used to be in oil. He worked as a roughneck on oil rigs, and this is his memoir / also partial history about the oil industry in Alberta, Canada. So I'm really excited to read this. Biblioasis has this series where it's like on something. There are definitely other ones that I want to pick up as well, but this is the first one that I have purchased. So excited for that. Also in Canada, I picked up the next volume in On the Calculation of Volume. So this is book 2. I read book 1 earlier in the year and enjoyed it and wanted to continue on in the series. This one is by Solvej Balle and translated by Barbara Haveland, and it's published by New Directions. I think at least the 3rd is already out in the US, if not the 4th. I think they might get published in pairs in the US. So excited to have this second one. Hopefully gonna pick it up sometime soon. So many people have loved this series, and I got this one at the Paper Hound, which, if you can see the bookmark, is a little dog at the top. It's an origami dog, and you can fold it even more to look more like a dog. So this book series, if you have not already heard, it is about Tara, who is reliving November 18th over and over again. I think it's November 18th. And yeah, excited to figure out what's happening with her in this book. So that is On the Calculation of Volume, book 2, and this is translated from the Danish, I should say. And then the last book that I picked up in Canada at my favorite bookstore that we visited there, I don't think I have a bookmark for this one, but it was at Massey Books, and I picked up Die My Love. This is by Ariana Harwicz and translated by Sarah Moses and Carolina Orloff. I think this is translated from Spanish, but let me just double check. She's an Argentinian author, so yeah, I'm gonna go with Spanish. And this just got adapted into a movie, which is definitely part of why I'm interested in picking it up. I've heard great things about it. It was longlisted for the International Book Prize in 2018, so it's a well-known book anyway, but excited to watch the adaptation and excited to read the book. This book is following our main protagonist. I don't know if she's named, who is living in the French countryside, and it says is battling her demons. And I think her behavior is becoming increasingly more erratic, but her family is kind of letting her do whatever she wants anyway. And I think it's kind of getting into the push and pull of domestic life and wanting freedom. So really excited to read this one. I have heard that the ending is fairly shocking, although I don't know what it is. So yeah, excited to get to this one as well. So that is Die My Love. This one's by Charco Press, by the way. And I think those are the books from Travels. Next up, we have just some books that I picked up. You saw this one in a vlog. This is We Computers by Hamid Ismailov. translated from the Uzbek by Shelley Fairwesther-Vega. I have never read a book translated from Uzbek before, so I'm really excited for that. And I was able to meet Shelley at a book event where I picked this up, and she was able to sign it for me. It was really good to get to hear her speak about the book and the process of translating it, which sounds like it was extremely difficult because she was having to translate from multiple languages in this book, because I believe the ghazals were written in another language when she got them, and those are similar to poems, and they're kind of peppered throughout this. So let me show you like this page. This book is involving AI. So we have our main character, John Peirce, who is in possession of a computer, and he wants to figure out if he can teach the computer how to write poetry. Definitely a very timely novel, and I'm excited to get to this one at some point. I also really like the cover. So that is We Computers. And then I picked up Magdalena the Sinner by Lillian Fashinger. This one is published by HarperCollins. This book is out of print, so I had to go on a journey to get this book. Normally when I'm looking for an older book, I'll just have one of my local indies order it in for me. But because this is out of print, they were like, yeah, girl, no, we cannot get this for you. But they very lovingly sent me a list of places that I might be able to try and get it secondhand from. And I was successful, so that was great. So this book I picked up, I think this is the book that I picked up because Joe loved it and told me about the blurb, and I was like, ooh, that sounds like a book for me. Confirm or deny if that is actually right, Joe. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm very excited to have it. And this book was originally published in 1997. It's also translated by Edna McEwan. I don't want to forget that. And this book sounds crazy. It was very controversial at the time, and when I tell you what it's about, you'll understand why. So I believe Magdalena kidnaps a priest in this book, and she disguises herself as a nun in order to do so, and takes him on this journey. And while they're on this journey together, she is confessing to him about her past and everything she's done in the pursuit of love, because she is pretty obsessed with finding love. And that premise just sounds so good. I cannot wait to read this one, but I can't wait. That premise, So thank you, Joe, for putting it on my radar, if it was in fact you that put it on my radar. So that is Magdalena the Sinner. And then we have a big stack of books that I bought recently in December from one of my local indies. I had a 25% off voucher, already good, and I had a ton of credit at that store. So I barely paid anything for this stack of books. Let me just show you the stack of books that we're going to be going through. I barely paid anything for this, which is such a steal. So I can't wait. I picked up 2 books that I have already read but loved and wanted to own. The first one being Godshot by Chelsea Beaker. This is published by Catapult. I read this earlier this year. I read it from the library but loved it and wanted to own it. So here she is. If you've been on my channel this year, you've heard me talk about this, and maybe you might be hearing me talk about it again. Me buying a book at the end of the year is a good indication that I loved it and might be a favorite. So that is Godshot. This one is about a young protagonist. She's like a preteen, I think, at the beginning of the novel, and she lives in a really drought-ridden, poverty-ridden town in California called Peaches. There are a couple things going on in this novel. The first thing is her relationship with her mother. Her mother struggles with substance abuse and is highly unreliable and just not a stable figure in our protagonist's life. But her mother is extremely conventionally beautiful, and that both gives her power in her life but also makes her a target for predators. One of those predators being the local pastor, who really is a cult leader, and our protagonist and her whole family that she knows, which is just her mom and her grandmother, are involved heavily in this church/cult. And we get that whole story of the cult and how that progresses over time. The church is trying to bring the rain back to their town. And then the other part of this novel is our protagonist starts to work at a phone sex operator business that is in her local town, and the other women who work there really take her in and treat her like a daughter, and they become family to her. So we've got a lot of things going on in this book. It's also really hard hitting. Definitely look up trigger warnings, but it's fantastic, so would definitely recommend. So that is the first one that I've already read. Second one I've already read, and I think I read this last year. This is The Possession by Annie Ernaux, translated from the French by Annie Moscovakis and published by Seven Stories Press. I think this is I read 4 Annie Ernaux books last year. Was that last year? And I think this might be the only one that I didn't own that I had read. I'm trying to collect all of her books. So I saw this on sale. It was $5. So I picked it up. It's really short. This one you can read in like 45 minutes, 30 minutes. But I loved it. I love all of her stuff, so I wanted to own it, so picked it up. It's about her after she's just ended an affair. I won't say anything more than that because it is so short. But she's a very famous memoirist. She won the Nobel Prize in 2022. So that is The Possession by Annie Ernaux. And then the other books that I picked up recently are all new to me. I think all but 2 of them are from small presses. Let's start with the non-small press ones first because they're just like honkers. So the first one is Boudica's Daughter by Elodie Harper. This is published by Union Square, which I believe is an imprint of Hachette, but let me just check. Yes, it is an imprint of Hachette. I read the Wolf Den trilogy and absolutely adored that trilogy. I read the last 2 books this year. This is her newest 2025 release, and I had to pick it up because I love that trilogy so much. I famously have said on my channel that I don't like historical fiction very much, but the Wolf Den trilogy has really turned that around for me, and I'm really excited to get to this. It is big. This book is almost 500 pages, and it is hefty, but I can't wait. I don't know if this is a standalone or the start of a new series for her, and I'm also not quite sure if there's going to be a tie-in to the Wolf Den trilogy because Boudica is very, very briefly mentioned in that series, or at least like well, I won't say more. I don't want to say anything about how Boudica is mentioned, but yeah, excited for this one. Had to have it. I don't know anything about it other than it is about Boudica's daughter. Boudica is a very famous female British warrior. So that's all I know, and I'm excited to get into this. So picked that one up. Seemed like an easy decision for me. This is Dayspring by Anthony Oliveira, and this one is published by Strange Light, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House, I believe, but let me just double check. Yes, it is. In Canada. It's one of their Canadian imprints. And I have wanted this book since it came out, so I'm so happy it finally got its paperback release in the US. This is a biblical retelling. I love biblical retellings. I am a sucker for them. 2 that I've read in the past and have absolutely loved was Carmen Biosa's Book of Eve, which is a retelling of the Book of Genesis from Eve's perspective. And I also loved Thirst by Amelie Nothomb, which is a retelling of the crucifixion of Jesus. Loved both of them. I'm hoping I will love this as well. It is all told in what looks like verse. I'll show you. And then later in the book, the verse is divided up into red and black font. So I'm not sure what that means, but I am very excited. I'm so excited, truly. I cannot wait. I wanted this book for so long, and this cover is stunning. I'm obsessed with it. I don't know anything other than it is a biblical retelling. Let's see, there's a short blurb in the very beginning. It says, a singular stunning debut that transcends and transfigures genres, at once a bold retelling of biblical tales and an unforgettable contemporary coming-of-age story, connected in collapsing time across millennia. Sounds good enough for me. And the little bit on the back says, and the word became flesh, coarse hair, crooked smile, the taste of salt on his clavicle. I am the disciple whom he loved. Can't wait. Dayspring. Happy to have her in the collection. And then the rest are all from small presses. Let's do the 2 that I know are nominees for the Republic of Consciousness Prize this upcoming year in 2026. Now I say nominees because they've just been nominated for the prize. That doesn't mean they're going to be longlisted or shortlisted or anything like that. The first one is Iris and the Dead by Miranda Schreiber. This is published by Book Hug Press, which is a Canadian publisher. And when I saw Sarah's video, Sarah from Eyes on Indie, if you don't know, has been doing videos, short videos of all of the books that have been nominated for the prize this year. And when I saw this video, I thought, ugh, that sounds so up my street. I need to get it. It says, a haunting exploration of love and desire, disability and madness, and trauma and recovery is a diaristic marvel for fans of Annie or No. I was just talking about Annie or No. Have to have it, have to have it. I also love this cover. This is one that I did have to order in to my bookstore. They didn't already have it, maybe because it's a small press from Canada, but they gladly got it in for me. So I'm very grateful to them for that. So that is Iris and the Dead. And then the other one that I knew I wanted to read anyway, so I'm so happy this was submitted for the prize, I hope it gets longlisted, is Benbecula by Graham McCrae Burnett. This is published by Biblioasis, another Canadian publisher. And I read Case Study by Graham McCrae Burnett a couple of years ago and loved it. It was the favorite book of the year. So I've been wanting to pick up another book by him, but his most recent release is actually part of a series, but it's not the first book. So I didn't want to pick that one up. So this new 2025 release, I'm very grateful for. And this takes place in 1857 on a remote Scottish island called Benbecula. I trust the author, so I'm really, really excited for a new release from him. So that is Benbecula. And then two more books that I've picked up. The first one is Dangerous Love by Ben Okri. This is published by Other Press. Other Press publishes a ton of his stuff, not all of his stuff, but a ton of it. I read 2 Ben Okri books in 2025 and loved them, and I'm wanting to pick up some more Ben Okri in 2026. So I specifically picked this one up for part of my reading goals next year. I'll talk about that more in videos to come, but I picked this one up specifically for some plans that I have. This book is huge. It is exactly 500 pages. The other 2 I've read from him were very short. He tends to write very fantastical tales. This is a very slice of life. So it seems to be a slight departure from what I've read before. And even on the back, it says this is his most accessible novels. So I'm intrigued to try something a little bit different from him. And this is following a love story between 2 people that are also against the backdrop of the Nigerian Civil War. And I think they're kind of like star-crossed lovers because the woman is already married. So really excited for another Ben Okri book. I'm excited to get into something different, something longer, and I just can't wait because I think his writing style is absolutely for me. I loved it. So excited to get to this one, Dangerous Love. And then lastly, for the books that I bought myself, we have Love Life of a Cheltenham Lady. This is by Dinah Brooke and it's published by McNally Editions. This was in my anticipated releases for 2025, and partly why I bought this one is this one's not available from my library, and so I knew if I wanted to read it I would need to actually purchase it. And McNally Edition republishes works. This one was in the early 70s. Yeah, 1971 is when it was originally published. This one is also about a young woman who is unraveling. She finds herself in a marriage that is very unsatisfying, and I think she starts to have an affair with a man, and her life kind of blows up from there. It does say that there is a horrifying conclusion to this book, so I'm really excited. I love the look of McNally Editions as well. I can add it to my little McNally collection, so excited to have this one. Okay, we made it through, finally, all the books that I bought myself. So let's get into the books from my Deep Vellum subscription, and then we just have gifted books after that. So there are 4 books here. I don't remember the order I got them in, so I'm gonna do loosely what I think the order I got them in was. First one is The Animal on the Rock by Daniela Tarazona, translated by Lizzie Davis and Kevin Gerry Dunn. Again, all these are published by Deep Vellum. This book was actually on my anticipated releases for the year, so I'm really happy they selected this as the one to send out for the month. They also sent a postcard with it and a bookmark. Sometimes they send like little extra bits and goodies with the subscription as well, if you're interested in that. And this one is a metamorphosis novel. That's really all I needed to know to sell me on it. And the protagonist, I think, is turning into a lizard, hence the scales on the front, or something reptilian. I guess I maybe just assumed it was a lizard. So really excited to read this one, The Animal on the Rock. Then I think I got What Remains by Leyla Erbil. This one's translated by Alev Ersan, Amy Marie Spangler, and Mark David Wires. It also has an introduction by Ayten Tartisi. And I believe this one's translated from the Turkish, but let me look. Yeah, translated from the Turkish. It is a novel in verse, so let me open it and show you. I do think it will be a kind of quick read for that reason. This book is like a long reflection on how Turkey has changed over the years through our protagonist eyes. So excited to try this one out. And this is partly why I've been excited about the subscription this year. I am going to do a vlog in 2026 of some of the subscription books that I've received from them, because some of these books, like I would have never picked this one up myself, but I am really excited to read it now that I have it. So that is What Remains. I need to put these in different locations because they're starting to fall over everywhere. Then I got another anticipated release for me, which is Things and Thoughts by Alla Gorbunova, translated by Elina Alter. This one is a collection of short stories that I think are all fairy tale-like in nature. Yes, twisting the art of the fairy tale into something entirely her own. A thematically linked short prose collection. So that is Things and Thought. Let me give you some of the one-liners. A teacher contemplates leaving her husband after learning that he doesn't have a soul. A clerk realizes that the only way to survive in contemporary Russia is to go insane. And cars fall inexplicably from the sky. I'm excited. This author is known for writing satire, so I'm expecting some of that to show up. So really excited for Things and Thoughts. Again, another one of my anticipated releases, so I was very happy when that one showed up in the package. And then the most recent one that I received, again, not one I would have bought myself, but now that I have it, I'm excited. It is Married Life by Sergio Patol, and it's translated by G.B. Henson. This is very short, and Deep Vellum has been publishing most of Sergio Patol's work, so this will give me a good introduction to him to see if I want to pick up some of the other stuff that they've been publishing. I don't know what this is about, so let me just read the top of the blurb to you. In this tragicomic satire of marriage from one of Mexico's most celebrated writers, a heartbroken and disillusioned wife sets out to remake her life after her husband's infidelity. So that is Married Life. Okay, we're gonna head into gifted books. This video is so long for me. My God, please don't let it be this long when I finish editing it, but we'll see. So let me grab all of these. Okay, so let's see, what are we gonna start with? Let's start with a book I got for my birthday. This was from some friends of mine, and this was actually a great pick by them, I will say. This is I Gave You Eyes and You Looked Toward Darkness by Irene Sola, translated by Mara Faye Latham. I have read from this author before. I read When the Mountains Sing. Is that their book? And actually, I didn't really like that book. But this book sounds so good, and I liked the writing of that book. I just didn't like the actual premise, so I think this will be a much better fit for me. And we are following an older matriarch who is on her deathbed, and a bunch of people are coming in to visit her before she dies. But all of the spirits in the house are waiting to throw her a party after she passes away. Her previous book had a lot to do with spirits and ghosts as well, so I'm not surprised to see that again. And I think we're also getting some flashbacks to her life, because there is a legend that she wanted a powerful husband so badly that she summoned the devil and then tried to double cross the devil. So I can't wait. I cannot wait. That sounds so good. I Gave You Eyes and You Looked Towards Darkness. Also an amazing title. So really excited for that one. And then I got from my sister-in-law, very excited for this as well, The Wax Child. This one's so shiny, by Olga Raun. This one is translated, they didn't put it on the cover, not good of them, translated by Martin Aitken. I believe she's Danish. Is it from the Danish? Yes. And I am so happy to have this. This was another anticipated release. It's published by New Directions, which has published all of her English translations so far. I read The Employees, really liked it. I have my work that I really desperately want to read, and I own it. And this might also be a little goal project that I have for the new year. So happy to have 2 books of hers on my TBR shelf to read. This is a real departure in terms of the setup for a book, because this is a witch story, I think. And she did like 10 years of research for this book, because it is following some specific witch trials that actually happened. So I can't wait. I don't need to know more than that. It's such a little slender thing, kind of like The Employees. So can't wait. So happy to have it. Thank you to my sister-in-law for getting it for me. And then we have 4 books from my mother-in-law. It wouldn't be a book haul if there wasn't a book from my mother-in-law in it. But firstly, I want to show you these little bookmarks that my mother-in-law sent me. She made these, and they have quotes from Margot's Got Money Troubles in it, because her book club read Margot's Got Money Troubles and they loved it. I'm happy to say they loved it. So she sent me what she made for the book club. So really happy to have these. Thank you to her. They're so cute. So we have 4 books from her, and these ones are always, you know, more commercial. They're more of a stretch for me, but I'm always happy to have them and try them out, especially if she loved them, which I think she enjoyed all of these. The one that I think she's most excited for me to read is The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. This one's published by Henry Holt, and this one was so popular. I think it won the Goodreads Choice Award for like the general fiction category the year that it came out. And it is about a woman who wants to commit suicide, checks into a hotel and realizes there's a wedding happening that weekend at the hotel. She runs into the bride, and the bride says, "You can't kill yourself. This is my wedding. How dare you ruin my wedding day?" And I think they become friends. It's a really strange setup, but so many people have liked it, so I'm at least gonna give it a shot. So that is The Wedding People. Then we have a romance, First Time Caller by B.K. Borrison. This one's published by Berkeley. So many people have liked this one. I've not read a B.K. Borrison before, but I have heard that this is like their best, most popular one. So I'm always excited to try out a new romance author. I read a handful of romances a year, and this one says, a hopeless romantic meets a demoralized radio host in this cozy, sleepless in Seattle inspired love story. Very fitting because I'm in Seattle. It does seem like it's going to be a grumpy sunshine trope, which isn't always my favorite, but we'll see how it goes in here. So that is First Time Caller. And then we have another, is this historical fiction? Is that the genre I would put it in? Probably. The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. This one is published by Doubleday, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. I don't know what this one is about. It says Maine, 1789. The Kennebec River freezes, entombing a man in the ice. Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body and determine the cause of death. As a midwife and a healer, she is privy to much of what goes on behind closed doors in Hollowell. And then I'm skipping down below. Over the course of one winter, as the trial nears. Oh, and it sounds like Martha differs in the doctor's conclusion that the death was an accident. And so she starts investigating what actually happened. So sounds very intriguing to me, and I will be reading this in January because one of my friends picked this as a buddy read for us to do in January together. So I'll be picking it up shortly and seeing what I think of it. So that is The Frozen River. And then lastly, we have a romantasy, I think. It looks like a romantasy, and it is A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwan. A world-changing secret, an impossible choice, a fated pair. I do like fated mates as a trope, so this could be intriguing for me. I'll just read you, and this one has beautiful sprayed edges. It is published from Saga Press, who I'm not familiar with. Where is Saga Press from? An imprint of Simon and Schuster. I'll just read the top of the blurb for this one. All Nina has ever wanted to do is become an artisan. All Patrick seeks is a craftsman revolution. Will they choose their greatest desires or each other? And then there's a map on the inside. So I'm excited for this one. Again, romantasy, always a nice change for me to switch up the genre. I like variety in my reading, so happy to try this one out and see how I like it. So we finally made it. Oh my God, let me tally up the number of books because I said I would do that. 25 books in total. Definitely my biggest haul of the year. It is 4 months worth, but I know I was gonna go nuts at the end of the year. So you're gonna have to check out my goals and stats check-in video for 2025 when I do my big wrap-up to see if I made my goal of matching my books in and out. It's gonna be close, that's for sure. But thank you so much for being here, for listening to me chat about all these books for so long. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and if so, what you thought about them, or if you are interested in any of these books. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.